Okay, so here's the first one. We are actually on page 26. So everyone turn to page 26. Okay, and everyone should have a calculator. All right, so first of all, on this problem, I have two fractions and I'm dividing. What do we do when we divide fractions? Can we divide fractions? We multiply by its reciprocal. Okay, or yeah, we flip it over. So here's what I'm going to write. 4x squared y over 8xy squared times its reciprocal. 8x to the 6th, y to the 3rd, over 12xy squared. Okay, so we left our first fraction alone, change it to multiplication, flip it over. Okay, now here's the deal. When we multiply fractions, we can multiply straight across, or can't we cross cancel? Okay, I would cross cancel so I don't have to deal with big numbers. Okay, so look, this 8 will cancel with this 8. I can cancel either cross cancel, or I can also cancel straight up and down too. So first of all, I'm going to cancel this 4, and this 12 would become a what? 3. Now I'm going to go straight up and down. I have x squared on top and an x on bottom. So what happens? Does this one cancel out? This one's gone, and now this is just an x right there. What about this y? This one's going to cross out, and I still have that one left. And then let's go up and down this way. This x will cancel with this, and that becomes a 5. This y squared is completely gone. I just have a y left. So is there anything else that I can cancel out? What about this y and this y? Can I cross cancel those? Yep. So the only thing I have left on top is this x and this x to the 5th. So I have x to the 6th on top, and the only thing I have left on bottom is a 3. Now, if it starts getting confusing when you start crossing everything out, you can multiply straight across on the top and then multiply straight across on the bottom, then simplify. But my answer on this one is C. Which one would it be? Yes, and so I had this y left, but then I also had this y left. So I cross-canceled those. Okay, next one. All right, which expression represents the result of this subtraction? Okay, this is a problem we have not done yet. This comes in the next chapter. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's actually pretty easy. Okay, the main thing you have to remember is this. I have two fractions that's being subtracted. What do we have to have when we subtract fractions? A common denominator. Here's how you find your common denominator. First of all, if anything can be factored, I factor it. It's already in factored form. Okay? So when that happens, to find your common denominator, you're going to put your two denominators on the bottom, and they're being multiplied by. Just like if I had 1/2 minus 2/3, one way to find a common denominator would be to multiply my two numbers together. Well, that's what I've done. So my common denominator is x plus 2, x minus 1. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my first fraction, and I'm looking at its denominator. What is its denominator missing that it should have? It's missing an x minus 1, right? I want this denominator to look my new denominator. Well, it's missing an x minus 1. So that's what I have to multiply. Boys, you're all going to have to stop talking. That's what I have to multiply the top and the bottom by. So I've already done it on the bottom. So on the top, I have x minus 1, 3x minus 1. Okay? Minus, look at my second fraction. What is its denominator missing? An x plus 2. So since I've already multiplied the bottom by that, that's what I have to multiply the top by. So it's x minus 2 times x plus 2. Okay, so now this just becomes a problem where I just have to do a lot of distributing or foiling. So let's do the top. This would not be a calculator problem because I have variables. So on the top, x times 3x squared. X times negative 1 minus 1x. Now I'm going to do my negative 1. Negative 1 times 3x minus 3x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. So that's my top for this part. Now we have to do the same thing for this part. So I'm going to have minus, and then in parentheses, because it's minus everything else I'm going to write down. When I FOIL this out, what happens to my middle terms? They're going to cancel out. So this top is going to be x squared minus what? 4. And if you need to show all those, but your two x's are going to cancel. Okay? So then, for right now, I'm just going to keep this as x plus 2 over x minus 1. Okay? Now I'm going to add my like terms. So I have a 3x squared and a minus 1x squared. What does that give me? 3x squared minus 1x squared? 2x squared? So I have 2x squared. I'm going to mark those out because I've used them. Now let's do our x's. I have a negative 1x and a negative 3x. So that's minus 4x. Then I have a positive 1 minus a negative 4. So what's 1 minus a negative 4? 5. Over my x plus 2, x minus 1. Okay, just by not doing anything else, can we pick out our correct answer? Which one is it? It's D. The only thing left that they did was they FOILed the bottom out. So that one was kind of long just because we had a lot of foiling to do, but it wasn't that hard. Okay, the only new thing that you learned was how to find a common denominator. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one. Which expression is equivalent to 2 minus x minus 1 over 3 minus x? So first of all, what kind of problem is this? Subtraction, okay? And aren't they subtracting? They're basically subtracting fractions again, because this is 2 over 1 minus x over 1. So if I said to find a common denominator, what is your common denominator? 1 times 3 minus x. So I'm going to write that down. 3 minus x is my common denominator. Now I'm going to fix each one. So look at my first fraction. What is its denominator missing? That whole thing. So I have to multiply my top number 2 times my 3 minus x. So whatever the bottom is missing, that's what you're going to multiply the top by. Minus, what's this one missing? The same thing. X times my 3 minus x. Minus, is my third fraction missing anything? It's going to stay the same because it's not missing anything. And now we're just going to fix the top. I'm going to distribute my 2. 2 times 3, 6, minus 2 times x, 2x. I need to think of this as a negative x, so I'm going to distribute a negative x. So negative x times 3 is minus 3x. Negative x times negative x, positive x squared minus 1. So now the only thing left is to simplify the top. I'm going to write mine in order, so my x squared is going to come first. So I have x squared, so I've used that, I have a negative 2x and a negative 3x. That's minus 5x. I have a 6 minus 1, so that's 5 over 3 minus x. So what's my answer? C. Okay, next one. Okay, on the next one, I'm going to show you the good math teacher and the bad math teacher. Okay? First of all, which expression is equivalent to 4i to the third? So this actually means 4i times 4i times 4i. Okay? So what is 4 times 4 times 4? 64. So I automatically know those two can't be my answer. And then an I times a I times a I is I to the third. Okay, do you remember what I to the third is equal to? It's actually I squared. What's I squared? Negative 1 times I. So now I to the third is equal to negative 1i. So it's 64 times negative 1i. So my answer would have to be C. Okay? Now, here's the bad teacher part. You ready? I have an I button on my calculator. Okay? Now, there's a reason why I didn't tell you that before. All right? So, enter it in exactly like you see it. Parenthesis. What was it? 4. I. Here's your I button. You're going to hit your second. And it's down here on the last row. It's your decimal point. Close parenthesis. And I'm raising that to the third power. Okay, did anyone's calculator not give them negative 64i? The 83s, did it work on the 83? It did. Okay. Yep. All right, let's do another one. So the next one, again, I'm going to show you good math teacher, bad math teacher. All right. A circuit has a current of 8 plus 7i amps, and another circuit has a current of 5 minus 3i amps. What is the difference between the currents of the two circuits? This one's an easy problem. What does difference mean? Okay, so I have 8 plus 7i minus, now here's the deal. If you're not careful, you're going to mess up on your signs. Minus everything that comes next, 5 minus 3i. So that means 8 plus 7i minus 5 plus 3i. I have to distribute that negative. So I have 3 plus 10i. So my answer is D. Okay, now, can I do that one in my calculator too? You're going to plug it in exactly like it looks. All right, so here's what it looks like. 8 plus 7i minus, parenthesis, 5 minus 3i. Three plus 10i. Okay. All right. Next problem. Okay, first of all, I want you to look at this problem and tell me, do you think this is a calculator problem? Okay, just by looking at it, it looks like it is. Okay. This one, though, it's a problem when you put it in your calculator. When I put it in my calculator, it's going to either give me an error message or what you're saying, non-real answer. Okay? And the reason it's a non-real answer is because of the negatives underneath the square root. So that's why sometimes I problems you can put in your calculator. This one you can't. So we're going to have to work this one out. Yeah, but if you're going to do that, you're just you might as well work it out. Okay, so here's really how you need to do this problem. The first thing you're going to have to do is simplify each one. You don't distribute first, you need to simplify. The square root of negative 6. Well, 6 is not a perfect square, but I know it's a negative underneath the square root, so I need to take out an I. So the square root of negative 6 is I squared root of 6 times, what is the square root of negative 4? 2I. Okay, minus the square root of 3, because square root of 3 is okay. Now, if you get to this point, I think it'll let you enter it in on your calculator. Okay, but let's go ahead and work it. What is I squared root of 6 times 2I? Well, I times I is I squared. That 2 has to stay out in front, and it's the square root of 6. I don't think you won't be able to put this in your calculator. Does it? Okay. Minus I square root of 18. Can everyone listen? Yeah, so it's not going to work, probably. What is I squared? Negative 1. So this is a negative 2 square root of 6 minus, okay, 18. 18 is 9 times 2. So what number can I bring out? So this is 3I square root of 2. So negative 2 square root of 6 minus 3I square root of 2. So my answer is D. Okay. All right. Next one. Can I do this one in my calculator? Yes. Okay, I can enter it in. Product means what? Product means, okay. So 2 plus 3I, 5 minus 4I. So let's do it in the calculator first, and then we're going to do it by hand. So I have 2 plus 3I times 5 minus 4I. 22 plus 7I. You guys got an error message? Has? Okay, if you get an error message and it says syntax, sometimes it's because instead of putting the minus sign right here, you put the negative sign. Check it, make sure you put minus 4I and not negative 4I. Okay, now I'm going to do it the long way. I want everyone to write this down, even though you already know the answer. We're going to FOIL this. 2 times 5, 10. 2 times negative 4I minus 8I. 3I times 5, 15I. 3I times negative 4I minus 12I squared. So I have 10 plus 7I. This I squared is negative 1, so that's plus 12. 22 plus 7I. Renee, did you figure it out? No? Did you fix it? Okay. All right, next one. Which expression is equivalent to 2 over 5 plus I? So is this a calculator problem? It's not. Okay, let me tell you how you can tell when you have I's if it's a calculator problem or not. If you're adding, subtracting, or multiplying. Add, subtract, multiply, you can put those in your calculator. If it's like this one, division, or simplify this expression, those you can't. All right? So only addition, subtraction, multiplication. So do you remember the rule on this? What is there to do on this? close. Good. Okay, the rule is, and the only reason I put this on there is because we can't have I in the denominator. So we have to multiply the top by its conjugate. 5 minus I on top and 5 minus I on bottom. All right? So, well, but when we distribute this out, then it's going to get rid of it. So 2 times 5 on top, that's 10. 2 times negative I, that's minus 2I. I'm going to FOIL the bottom. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times negative I, that's minus 5I. I times 5 is plus 5I minus I squared. So distribute the top, FOIL the bottom. Then I have 10 minus 2I. 25, my 5 i's cancel, and I get minus a negative 1. So I have 10 minus 2I over 26. Which one is going to match up with 10 minus 2I over 26? Okay, it's going to be C because this is 10 over 26 minus 2I over 26, which is 5 over 13 minus I over 13. Huh? Okay, I squared is negative 1. I to the third is negative I to the fourth is 1. Okay, so that's kind of all of the I problems that they give you. All right, next one. They're going to start talking about graphs and parent graphs. Okay, what is the parent graph of this function and what transformations have taken place on it? So look at this one. When I graph this, and we could graph it, what am I going to get? It's a parabola. Okay, so what is my parent graph? Y equals x squared is my parent graph. If I have a parabola, my parent graph is always x squared. So I can automatically count out A and B. Okay, then I just have to figure out when I graph this, is it translated 3 units to the left or 3 units to the right? It's going to be to the right because it's always opposite the sign. But if you didn't know, you'd graph that and see where it's translated. Is it to the right or to the left? So we like that. That's easy. Okay, Mohammed, are you with me? Okay, write that down. Did you get the answer? Focus. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, what is the parent graph of this function? What is the parent graph? Y equals x squared again. Okay, so let's talk about that. If it's y equals x as my parent function, that would be a line. So any line, my parent graph is y equals x. Y equals x squared is any parabola. It could be opening up or opening down. Okay, y equals absolute value of x is always what? A v. And for it to be x to the third, it's kind of this squiggly line. Now, if you want for sure, I would graph each one of these and see which one gives me the shape of a parabola. Okay, but those are all of your parent graphs. Okay, hang on one second.